yards out. Groupie's kick is no good. Wide to the right.
What a second half for the Green Bay Packers. Erased a 17-0 deficit. 18 unanswered points.
A week after it all goes wrong in the fourth quarter, the Packers salvage a win in the fourth quarter. What the heck? I don't know what the win percentage was, but probably pretty low. We're going to get into that. Our starting lineup for the evening on the FOX6 Sports Blitz. The Packers do put together that comeback. The Brewers punch their playoff ticket, but when will the division title come their way? Rowdy Tellez makes us say what following his superhuman performance on the mound in a high-leverage situation. Badgers football, they win. They're hit with a big loss, though. And we go baton twirling for this week's high school hotshot.
I've never been a part of a win like this. The guys in the locker room, they believe in one another, and they continue to battle. And that's really, as a coach, that's all you can ask of anybody.
Not bad there, Matt LaFleur. Lily Zhao is here, Tim Van Voorn, Brandon Cruz. You were with me at Green Bay today, Lambeau Field, and you were listening to Matt LaFleur, and you said he was emotional.
He was. He came out, and you could see it, and you could hear it. The other thing he said about this is that he doesn't even remember the fourth quarter. It was a blur. And then he said it was a nightmare that turned into a dream, and he just kept talking about how together this group is. And that group inside in the locker room means so much, and what he saw from them meant so much to him. And he just kept going on, and every answer seemed to go back to that point, how collected that group is and how tight they are and how they were so resilient. And that, to me, is where you got all the emotion from him following this big win.
We're watching Jordan Love right here, Lily Zhao. He puts on a heroic performance late, at least.
It certainly does. I mean, this was a game that could have certainly gotten out of hand. And when you're down 17-0 at home with 1 quarter of football left to play, this team can either rise to the occasion or they can shrink. And they certainly did the former. I mean, this was a team that couldn't put any points on the board. There were 11 total penalties in this game, so many miscues, a couple, miscommunication on plays as well. But then the fourth quarter happens. Jordan Love just phenomenal. Jaden Reed makes a big catch. Romeo Doubs made a big catch as well. So these guys really put it on themselves. They never gave up. They were thinking about that next play. Romeo Doubs there ties the game with that touchdown. And this Packers team puts up 18 unanswered points. And Jordan Love, in his first career start at Lambeau Field, what a way to win a game.
That's a pretty good script, no question about it. Brandon, the Packers now won 2 games. Aaron Jones has played once. David Bakhtiari has played once. Christian Watson hasn't played at all. Jair Alexander didn't play today. Elton Jenkins didn't play today. And they're tied for first place in the division. What are we seeing here?
I think you're seeing a young group of players that are very comfortable with one another, and they're trusting one another more and more each play. You saw it today in the way this game unfolded. A lot of miscues, a lot of drop passes, a lot of penalties, yet nobody gave up on one another. And you saw in the way Jordan Love would throw to different receivers, the way he would find a Romeo Doubs, the way he would bounce back from this fourth down attempt that just went awry from the get-go. And nobody got down. And I think that's one of the things that really has this team playing positively, even with all of those injuries, is that they're sticking together. They're not beating themselves up for mistakes. They're just trying to get better the very next play, the very next opportunity.
And Matt LaFleur was very aggressive today, going for it on a trick play on fourth down there, going for it on fourth down a couple of times. Definitely aggressive, pulling on all the shots. But he had to overcome some penalties, Lily. The Packers had lost 15 yards before they ever gained a yard in this game, and then they had more chunk penalties that they had to overcome.
They certainly did. Again, I don't know if it was the nerves. I don't know what it was in this first game at home for the young Green Bay Packers team, but 11 total penalties. I think that racked up 90 yards. At one point, they had more penalty yards than rushing yards in the game, and that's not exactly what you want to see from this team. And again, they certainly cleaned it up in the fourth quarter where flags weren't being thrown. But again, the Packers certainly got in their own way in those first 3 quarters. And you have to think, had they played clean football, would this have been a game where the Packers might have actually led or been in it? But that doesn't happen. Again, you're going to go through the ebbs and flows with a young team. But they certainly learned in that final quarter that if we don't hurt ourselves, we can play winning football.
A lot of penalties through 3 games, though. That is one area to clean up for sure. Brandon, last week, Joe Barry getting bashed, right? The talk about the Packers defense getting gashed, and Joe Barry was getting gashed and bashed. Today, shutout in the second half. Do you credit the defense? Did the Saints kind of unwind once Derek Carr got hurt?
No, I don't think so. Jameis Winston moved them down the field at times, but no, this team seemed to be ready. And if you really look at what they did in the first half, being down 17-0, they only gave up 1 touchdown in that situation. The other touchdown was special teams, and it had nothing to do with the defense. And what you saw there was they were constantly getting pressure on whatever the quarterback was, if it was Carr or if it was Jameis Winston, excuse me. And they were also able to disrupt the passing game down the field. You had some very good defensive back play, and then you had some very strong safeties come up and make some big tackles. And to me, it was the front line that made the biggest difference. Rashawn Gary, with the 3 sacks, really set the tone and allowed the other guys to make a difference as well. So nobody was comfortable in the backfield for the Saints, and a big reason why is that front line.
So can you win on Thursday night, Lily, and take, I don't know, control, my goodness, but take the lead through the first quarter of the season?
Right. I certainly think you can kind of carry this momentum into Thursday. Again, these guys are already looking towards that game because it is a short week for the Green Bay Packers. But you have to like what this team presents, right? I mean, they were kind of a botched fourth quarter away from being 3-0. Granted, this is going to be a tough opponent in the Detroit Lions, who were kind of crowned the preseason NFC North champions. So we'll see if they can hang with Jared Goff. Dan Campbell's going to have something up his sleeve, especially playing at Lambeau Field. I think this is going to be a big challenge for this Packers team. But again, the way that they played, if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, I think they can always be in every single game. That includes Thursday.
And we shall see what the injury list looks like. If these guys that were out today had 1 game this week to play, you save them for the division game. So we'll see if they can come back on Thursday night. It's halftime. It's time for the FOX6 Blitz Instant Bowl. We want to go to you. So if you can scan the QR code on the screen or go to fox6now.com, we can hear from you. Simple question, and undoubtedly you're paying attention today. How are you feeling heading into the fourth quarter when the Packers were down 17-0? Angry, frustrated, hopeful, not surprised? Time to turn the TV off? Maybe at least I'm not a Bears fan. You have all kinds of options there. We'll hear from your, we want to get your response before we're out of here.
This is a championship team, and we got a lot of fun ahead of us. All right? So cheers, man. You guys are going to the playoffs again, man. Milwaukee Brewers in the playoffs again.
Craig Counsell getting them there again. Who knows if he'll be managing in the future. But they've sealed up another spot, and the division crown awaits maybe Tuesday night?
It's like they kind of wrote the script, right? Let's do it back home in Milwaukee. We don't want to clinch in Miami. I'm just kidding. But it would be something to behold at American Family Field on Tuesday when they do play the Cardinals, if they get that opportunity. That magic number stays at 1. But I think this team wanted to clinch in Miami, but they couldn't get it done. But that is okay. They are not in a bad spot whatsoever. Let's do it in front of our home crowd, and let's do it Tuesday. I think that's what's ahead for this Brewers team. They, of course, punched their ticket back to the playoffs 5th time in 6 seasons for Milwaukee, which is a great feat. And then again, they can clinch that division crown and just kind of sail to the postseason. So it's going to be a fun week coming up from the Milwaukee Brewers.
I saw legitimate joy there on Craig Counsell's face. At times this season, he's shaking his head and he's rustling the hair and kind of frustrated with what's going on. Not right now. He knows this team's playing well.
He does, and this team is playing well for so many different reasons. Their bullpen has been solid. Their starting pitching has been solid. And they are finally hitting the ball on a regular basis. This team has more big innings than any other team in baseball over the last month and a half. They have 31 innings where they've scored more than a run. That's more than any team in baseball. And you wouldn't have said that or even thought that about a team, but they've been doing it. And in fact, on Friday, when they clinched at least the wild card at the very least, they had a 12-run inning to lock that up. 9 hits that inning. And what you're seeing is now these new additions making such key contributions at the plate that, to me, makes things a lot easier for Craig Counsell as a manager because he knows he has guys in each spot where he wants them.
You talk about new additions. Obviously, Mark Canha has been positive. Carlos Santana has now gotten to 300 career switch hit home runs. But Josh Donaldson, kind of a fluke signing, and he has he's got to energize the lineup as well.
Well, he's a former MVP, and yes, he had a terrible season in New York with the Yankees. But now that he's healthy, now that he's with this new group, you have to wonder if the youth around him and the excitement of being in a playoff race like this has really kind of rejuvenated him and brought him back to the form that most people remember him with the Blue Jays and when he first went to the Yankees.
So the Brewers have it going, Lily, and now they're in this final week. As you said, maybe Tuesday night they can clinch things up. Now, in the past, they've taken their foot off the gas and had trouble kind of restarting in the playoffs. How would you play out this final week if you're Craig Counsell and this team?
That's a great question. I think this team is not going to be one that says, oh, we're going to rest everybody, that's possible, but we're going to, maybe put out our guys that aren't getting much time to play. I think this is still a team that wants to be smart with obviously who they use in their pitching rotation because, again, it's been such a long season. Those bullpen arms, I'm sure, are tired, but you don't want to go into the playoffs having rested a lot of these guys because then you're kind of playing catch up, especially in the playoffs for a team that might be more fresh. So I think that's going to be the really good challenge with manager Craig Counsell to see how he utilizes his players. But that's what makes him such a genius, though, just his ability to put the right guys in the right position and in the right games. He's so good at that. So I think that's going to be the chess match that he wins this week.
We'll see if the Cubs can even hang on to a playoff spot. They've really skidded in the division. Talk about decisions being made, Brandon. Do you think the playoff roster is set in the mind of Craig Counsell, or do you think he and Matt Arnold and the decision makers have some decisions to make this week?
There's definitely decisions to make, but not as many as we would have thought maybe before the trade deadline. Now you have some things locked in. And so to me right now, it's maybe one or two position players that they're going to try to figure out and maybe one or two relievers that they're going to try to figure out. Like maybe they leave for this wild card round. Mm-hmm. Maybe they leave one or two starters off of it and add more offensive players or something like that. But that to me is where it is. But this lineup is pretty much locked in now.
It's always kind of fun when you're talking baseball in October for the local team, and it's been pretty regular around here in Milwaukee the last several seasons. Speaking of local folks moving on, how about Con Knipple? He's moving on to Duke, committing there, the Wisconsin Lutheran High School standout. He's grown up in a basketball family. He can flat out play, and he had ample opportunity to go anywhere in the country. He's going to become a Blue Devil. He's one of the top 25 consensus recruits in the country. Hey, we hope we are your number one choice for programming tonight as we return on the Fox 6 Sports Blitz.
I was telling everybody go home. Man, I was like, go home, man. Why y'all still here?
That's a good question.
I mean, give me a little, prep time for a question like that.
It's a little cold for butterflies to be out right now.
Okay, yeah, it just ruined my night.
Junior year of high school and won the playoff games. Yeah, it didn't go too well, but Cy Young candidate now. So
You walked the guy, bro.
I struck him out. My whip's better than yours.
You don't know that he walked you?
My whip's better than yours.
You don't know it was a walk?
They're already tweeting Cy Young candidate. Murph said if I walk somebody, I owe him $50. So I was like, well, Vic, sit on the corners, watch Maddox work. Yeah, Corbin's never clinched a playoff spot for a team ever. So I'm just better. But neither is Devin. Better than him. Already I'm wearing number 38.
Well, he has some points that are very well made. Corbin Burns hasn't clinched for the Brewers on the mound.
Yep.
Neither has Devin Williams. And his whip is better than Wade Miley.
Isn't it true that no position player has ever clinched?
That's until now.
Until Rowdy Tellez.
Exactly. So is he, if you had a vote, is he your Cy Young vote?
He gets mine. He gets mine.
He's going to say what vote for sure.
Yeah,
Loved it.
we'll see if he gets to make the mound in this final homestand of the regular season. Well, the regular season is underway for the Badgers. They go into Purdue on Friday night and get a big win. They're 17th straight over the Boilermakers. Now, we saw a very different offense come out, and one of the things they talked about, Tim, going into this game was a fast start. And they got it. They got it, yeah. And Braylon Allen's got the ball, and they went with what has worked, and they had been kind of going away from that through the first 3 games of the season. So they needed to pop something.
the whole game felt better because they got off to a stronger start.
And what do you think about Tanner Mordecai? Because, we were supposed to get a lot of passing. It was mainly his legs doing the work.
That was what was impressive. I think in that, that first quarter particularly, he just was able to flash his speed and his legs and, kind of put this team on his back, which is, I think, what we really expected to see from Tanner Mordecai. An impressive performance from him. They certainly needed it, though. Purdue made it a little interesting in the second half, but not much so. This Badgers team had this game well in hand, but I certainly think that Tanner Mordecai played very well in this game. They need that moving forward with this Big Ten very wide open for them to win.
They do have a bye coming up, but they also now have the loss of Ches Malusi. He reportedly has fractured his fibula, will be out for the season. It's a third straight season-ending injury. How devastating is this for the team, but also for him?
Right. Obviously he transferred here. He had to get in with a new crowd. He did a good job of that. He was productive when he played, but as you said, he's had season-ending injuries before. This is very tough. There's no question about it. I think that's obvious. You're an athlete. You see your games go away. Your season goes away. That's the worst possible thing you can do individually, and then you don't think you're there to help your team as well. And you can see just this video right here, he is extremely popular with his teammates.
Yeah, and he is expected to kind of still be around this team, which is a positive out of a negative, and now Braylon Allen will have to carry a much bigger load as they move forward. Well, let's check in on our Instant Poll question. Scan this code if you still haven't answered and would like to, or just go to our website, fox6now.com. How are you feeling heading into the fourth quarter with the Packers down 17-0? Look at how optimistic so many of you were. 54% of you at this point were hopeful, and only 22% not surprised. I'm a little surprised with those answers. We'll get the rest of your answers near the end of the show. We'll be right back with the High School Hot Shot.
Welcome back. This freshman is twirling to new heights that now include national competitions, and that is why she is this week's Fox 6 High School Hot Shot.
Hi, I'm Kayla Peters. I go to Waukesha North High School, and I'm a competitive baton twirler. I started when I was about 2 years old, maybe a little under 2. I saw one of my oldest teammates twirling in a parade, and I just wanted to do it so badly. It was fun, and then I got older, onto an older team, and I just started twirling competitively. It's mainly in the wrist and your fingers. You always have to be looking at your baton when you're twirling. There's actually tape on the middle of my baton, so that when I throw it and when I look at it, that's what I look at. I compete in solo, strut, and model. Model is more walking and looking pretty. Strut is where you march to the certain music and you cannot toss your baton. And solo, my personal favorite, it's my own routine that I compete for myself. My older teammates were in the band, twirling in the band, and I was like, I want to do that. And being the featured twirler at my high school is the best. I love it. The band members really like the twirlers, so they got along with me really well, and they really liked me. They think I'm very entertaining when they get to watch me. I love football games, and I love twirling, so putting them together I think will be pretty nice. I've been doing parades since I first started twirling, so it's a part of me, and it's so fun. I love it. One of my favorite parts of twirling. I love being the center of attention. It's amazing. My goal is to get advanced in twirling by the end of high school, and I really want to twirl at Florida Atlantic University when I go to college. That's my dream college, and I'd love to twirl there. All my batons are named Ashley. This is her. She's a little dirty from the turf on the field. She's always with me. I used to have one Ashley, and now I have 3 of them. I yell at her sometimes. I throw her and yell at her sometimes, but she forgives me. Hi, I'm Kayla Peters. I go to Waukesha North High School, and I won national championships and nationals for baton twirling. On this week's Fox 6 High School Hot Shot.
And not only is Kayla an accomplished baton twirler, she also does ballet, she dances, and does jazz and poms. Well, once the baton twirlers are off the field, you know it's football time. Here's the high school Blitz play of the week. Catholic Memorial's MJ Mitchell had 2 great touchdown runs. This is a good one as well. And what a game for Mitchell. He had 113 rushing yards as the Crusaders win their 4th game in a row. Looking ahead to week 7, we have another fantastic slate of games for you. I'll be at our Fox 6 High School Blitz game of the week. That's Greenfield and Greendale. We'll also be at an MPS duel between Washington and Obama School of Career and Technical Education, South Milwaukee and Whitnall, Tosa West versus Tosa East, and Hilbert versus Ozaki. A look at the week is ahead. Keep it here.
So how are you feeling? The fourth quarter started today at Lambeau Field, and most of you were hopeful. It turned out to be hope was rewarded.
And let's hope the Packers keep the momentum rolling. The Lions come to town on Thursday for Thursday Night Football. Kickoff at 7:15. That's going to be right here on Fox 6. We'll have another special edition of Fox 6 News before the game at 6:30.
Yeah, and the Brewers just need one win or one Cubs loss to clinch their division. It all starts with their opportunity on Tuesday at home against the Cardinals. They have 3 at the Cardinals and finish up with the Cubs before the playoffs.
Interesting stuff, no question about it. Also, tomorrow we're expected to learn officially that IndyCar coming back to the Milwaukee Mile, so that would be going on as well. It is a busy time of sports for sure. Bucks aren't too far off. Some of the hockey teams are getting going. My goodness. Playoff baseball right away, too. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you again. Have a great week.